These days, it seems like everyone's asking for a tip. It's not just at restaurants anymore. Now, you might see tip requests at coffee shops, fast food places, and even when you're buying something on your own at a kiosk. This has led to something called tipping fatigue. It's a growing concern for many consumers who find themselves unsure about when, where, and how much to tip. A 2023 survey highlighted this issue, revealing that 66% of Americans have a negative view of tipping. Check out the full details by visiting the link in the description. It's important to remember that even though tipping is common in the US, you don't have to do it every time. You should feel free to decide when you want to tip, especially if the service isn't great or if you're trying to save money. But many people find it hard to say no to a tip without feeling bad or worrying about being rude. That's why we've created this guide. We know it can be tricky to deal with all these requests for tips, and we want to help. In this article, we'll share 13 polite ways to say no to giving a tip in different situations. Number 1, express gratitude and decline politely. Acknowledging good service is important, even if you choose not to tip. When you receive excellent service but prefer not to leave a tip, try this approach. Say something like, "Thank you for your excellent service, but I prefer not to tip today." This response shows appreciation for their work while clearly stating your decision not to tip. It maintains a positive interaction and leaves the door open for future visits. Remember, a kind word can go a long way in smoothing over potentially awkward situations. This one is also hard and awkward for most people. Number 2, mention your financial situation. Money can be tight for many of us. If you're on a budget and can't afford to tip, it's okay to be honest about it. You might say, "I'm afraid I can't afford to tip today, but I appreciate the service." This approach is straightforward and relatable. Most people understand financial constraints and will respect your honesty. It's a gentle way to decline without making the service provider feel undervalued. Just make sure to deliver this message with a genuine tone to avoid any misunderstandings. Number 3 on our list of polite ways to decline tipping is refer to the poor service. Sometimes, service falls short of expectations. In such cases, it's fair to decline a tip and explain why. You could say, "The service wasn't up to par, so I won't be leaving a tip today." This feedback gives the business a chance to improve. It's important to deliver this message calmly and factually. Avoid being confrontational or emotional. Your goal is to provide constructive criticism that might lead to better service in the future. This approach can benefit both the business and future customers. Number 4, suggest improving the service. Instead of a flat-out refusal, you can offer suggestions for improvement. Try saying, "The service could use some improvement, so I won't be tipping today, but I'd be happy to come back if the experience is better next time." This approach shows you're not just complaining, but you're invested in the business's success. It gives them a chance to win you back as a customer. Your feedback might even lead to positive changes that benefit all future customers. It's a constructive way to decline a tip while encouraging better service standards. Number 5, mention the mandatory service charge. Some businesses add a service charge to the bill automatically. In these cases, you can politely point this out when declining an additional tip. Say something like, "No need for a tip, the service charge has already been added." This reminder is helpful for both you and the staff. It prevents double tipping and ensures everyone is on the same page about the bill. It's a clear, factual way to decline without causing any confusion or discomfort. Number 6 on our list of polite ways to decline tipping is explain your personal tipping policy. We all have different views on tipping. It's okay to share your personal tipping policy when declining. You might say, "I only tip for exceptional service, which wasn't the case today, so I'll pass on the tip." This explanation helps the staff understand your perspective. It's not a judgment on their work, but a reflection of your personal standards. Be prepared for some people to disagree with your policy, but remember, it's your right to decide when and how much to tip. Before we continue with the video, take a quick moment to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Plus, we've got some helpful resources in the description. Check them out and share your comments after you're done watching. Number 7. Using digital payment methods. Digital payments often make it easier to avoid the tipping option. When paying with a card or phone, you can simply say, "I'll pay with my card," and skip the tipping option on the screen. This method allows you to bypass the tip prompt without a direct confrontation. It's a smooth way to handle the situation, especially if you feel uncomfortable discussing tipping face-to-face. Just be sure to stay polite and thank the staff for their service, even if you're not tipping. Number 8. Explain cultural differences. Tipping customs vary around the world. If you come to a place where tipping isn't common, you can explain this cultural difference. Say something like, "In my culture, we don't usually tip, but I appreciate your service." This explanation helps bridge the cultural gap and prevents misunderstandings. It shows that your decision isn't personal or a reflection on their service. It's an opportunity to share a bit about your background while politely declining the tip. Number 9 on our list of polite ways to decline tipping is suggest a feedback form. If you want to provide input without tipping, suggest a feedback form. You could say, "I'd be happy to provide feedback on the service, but I won't be tipping today." This approach shows you care about the quality of service and want to help improve it. Many businesses value customer feedback and might appreciate your suggestion. It's a constructive alternative to tipping that can benefit the business in the long run. Number 10. Preference for direct donations. Some people prefer to donate directly to causes rather than tipping. If this applies to you, explain your preference. You might say, "I usually contribute directly to charity instead of tipping." This response shows that you do give back, just in a different way. It can open up a conversation about charitable giving and social responsibility. Remember to deliver this message with sincerity to avoid sounding dismissive of the service provided. Number 11. Suggest a tip jar for voluntary tips. If a business is pushing for tips, suggest they use a tip jar instead. This allows customers to tip voluntarily if they choose. You could say, "I'd be happy to leave a tip in the jar, but I won't be adding it to the bill." This suggestion gives customers more control over their tipping decisions. It also creates a more relaxed atmosphere around tipping. The business might even appreciate this idea if they haven't considered it before. Number 12. Pre-arrange tips with group payments. When dining or enjoying services with a group, tips are often included in the total bill beforehand. In such situations, you can politely decline additional tipping requests by explaining the pre-arranged tip. You can simply say, "We've already added a group tip to the bill, so I won't be tipping extra." This response clarifies that you've contributed to the staff's gratuity through the group payment. This approach works well for large gatherings, corporate events, or pre-planned outings where tipping is discussed and settled in advance. The last number on our list of polite ways to decline tipping is decline and offer an alternative. If you don't want to tip with money, consider offering an alternative. You might say, "I won't be tipping today, but I'd be happy to leave a positive review online if you'd like." A good review can greatly benefit a business. It shows you value their service and want to support them, even if you're not tipping. This approach maintains a positive relationship with the business while staying true to your decision not to tip. Remember, it's okay to say no to tipping sometimes. These 13 ways can help you decline a tip politely and confidently. The key is to be respectful and clear about your choice. Tipping can be a tricky subject, but with these tips, you can handle it like a pro. These approaches give you options for different situations, allowing you to respond to tipping requests smoothly. You now have tools to manage your budget, express your preferences, and provide feedback, all while maintaining positive interactions. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget the link in the description.